Welcome to Becoming a Warrior Empath, Mastering 10 Survival Strategies. I am Phoenix Love of the Healer's Haven, where I work with purpose-driven leaders to provide holistic healing solutions to help you achieve your wellness goals as well as work-life balance. I am the helper to the healer and the healer to the helper. I thought this was a very important webinar to present to support those that are empaths or highly sensitive people, or even if you're not sure if you're an empath or not. Empaths are light beings. Empaths are both vulnerable and strong, which is really a new model for leadership. There's a new paradigm of living and transforming lives. If we think about it, everything is made of light. And empaths are light beings that are sent to help shift this world from a mindset of destruction, violence, suffering, and help it move towards more of a path of restoring hope, love, peace, all for divine healing. So when we look at being an empath, it truly is a gift. It truly is a blessing to be an empath and be able to make changes in others' lives. So what are our learning objectives? There's really 10 strategies that we are going to walk through, and it's really understanding and implementing these 10 strategies that will help you not only to survive in the world as an empath or a highly sensitive person, but to thrive and be prosperous. So one, we're going to identify the traits, characteristics, and primary triggers for empaths, know the different types of empaths and their gifts, and 3, explore unique gifts and abilities that empaths possess. 4, examine environmental factors that affect empaths. 5, discuss the best workplace and careers. 6, decode the types of relationships that are healthy versus unhealthy. 7 through 10 is really all about the tools, the resources, the information that's going to help to empower us as empaths and also to protect us. So we're going to look at our foods, the herbs and supplements, different tools and resources that we need in our toolbox for protection, and then really look at developing and practicing a daily regimen to strengthen and empower us. And we will end with several different guided meditations and visualizations to create a protective shield and elevate your gifts. So I'm going to pause again because, again, someone else is having trouble getting on. So give me a moment. Okay. So let's look at the different traits and characteristics that really make up or determine if you are an empath or not. I did email out the actual empath assessment, so just make sure you check your emails. It should have been with the link to actually join the webinar. So if you know you're an empath, just see if any of these characteristics resonate with you. Vivid dreams and visions that fuel an active intuitive ability, feeling things very intensely. You can be easily overwhelmed or overstimulated. You can often also feel very isolated or lonely. You're very compassionate and in tune with other feelings. We also have a very special appreciation for the natural world. You feel at home in nature. I know I do. I love nature. Challenged with expressing needs and setting boundaries in relationships. And this is also where you have difficulty distinguishing your emotion from others. So that's where relationships can be challenging at times. More susceptible to sensory overload and emotional burnout. I'll talk a little bit about that more later. You're also deeply connected to all of the divine's creations, from plants to animals, the solar system, and other people. What are your triggers? Large crowds, superficial conversations, loud noises, inauthentic people, and energy vampires, which I'll talk about soon. Any type of violence, arguing or fighting or yelling, even watching violent movies can be a bit much for empaths. And when I say fake food products, I'm talking about anything with additives or artificial coloring, dyes, processed foods, fatty foods, meats, starches. Strong smells, odors can be a trigger as well. And in certain fabrics and textures that may be too itchy on the body and on the skin, because we tend to have a lot of skin sensitivities and sometimes allergies and things like that. Extreme temperatures as well. If it's too hot, too cold, harsh chemicals. So even looking at your household items, your cleaning items, any type of, chemicals, even from nail polish remover or even nail polish. Anything can also be that you use to clean your clothes, cleaning objects. Anything that has harsh chemicals in it can be very toxic to an empath. Traffic and sitting in traffic or even any other restrictive situation or places. Like, we don't like to be in places that are too, just for lack of a better word, claustrophobic or too closed in or cluttered. High stress environments and situations, and I'll talk more about that. And people or places or situations that we look at as time wasters, or where we have a lot of pressure or we feel we're under undue pressure. Because again, that can come off as being restrictive to us or putting us like in a bind or feeling trapped. Those type of emotions can come up for us when we feel that we are somewhere where we're not using our time efficiently or being productive. But it's important that we understand what the triggers are. We may not, everybody's different. Even if you are an empath, you may be very different from another empath. You may not have all of the sensitivities or the triggers to these particular things. But usually there is a commonality or sort of like the basic triggers and traits and characteristics. So being proactive is key to how you protect yourself. Really knowing your triggers is a way of planning out and being able to kind of set the tone for your day and plan out in advance how you're going to move and navigate, knowing that you have certain triggers. So it's important to know. So let's look at what type of empath are you? And there's several different empaths and types of empath that are really broken down into sort of like two categories. So you have, or three categories. You have the emotional, you have the physical, and then you have the intuitive. And then there's subtypes within that. So let's look at the emotional empaths. So emotional empaths are really the ones that are attuned to other people's physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, and they really can absorb them into their own body, which can be a challenge, of course. But you also can be energized by someone else's emotional or physical symptoms, depending on what's going on, if it's positive or if it's negative. So if it's someone that is happy and joyful and, you know, they just give off good positive energy and you absorb in that, then it's okay and you feel good and you want to be around that person. But if it's someone, of course, that is the opposite and they have very negative, dark energy and you're absorbing that, then that, of course, can be toxic too. And then when we look at the emotional and physical empaths, underneath there's the relationship empath. And again, that's someone that really has a challenge with relationships because they tend to take on the feelings of their mate. So they find themselves a lot of time being engulfed in the relationship. As far as the sexual empath, this is someone who does not really, they have a challenge with really managing their sexual energies. And what they tend to do is with their mates, there's usually this whole transference of sexual energy that happens. And it can be a positive thing, but it also can be detrimental, especially if you're someone who may or may not be in a committed relationship. So sometimes it can turn into a lot of promiscuity and really confusing that heightened sexual energy with love or with, you know, an affinity to have a relationship. So there's a lot of confusion that can come in when you're considered a sexual empath. And then there's the food empath. This is someone who really struggles with overeating or even an addiction to food because they use food as a way to comfort and pad themselves when they are having challenges with the overstimulation of being, you know, in certain environments. So, and for example, if this is someone that, say, has had a day and they're working in a toxic environment, they will go home and do a binge eating and overeat and maybe do purging and may also have some kind of eating disorder. So that can be a food empath. When we talk about the different types of intuitive empaths, the plant empaths, and it's just pretty much is what it's described to say. Plant empaths have a connection and can feel the needs of plants and connect with them and with their essence. Animal empaths can tune into with the feelings and the connection with animals and be able to communicate with them. Mediumship is really someone that can access spirits and have conversation with people on the other side of the spirit realm. So this is usually, and you see these, you know, people that are considered psychics or medium, those are usually empaths that have the gift of mediumship. And then there's telepathic empaths. They receive intuitive information about others in present time. Precognitive empaths have premonitions about the future. either while awake or in their dreams. So precognitive empaths, tend to be able to see things before they actually happen. And then you have dream empaths. These are avid dreamers. They can receive intuitive information via their dreams, and also interpret them. So that helps them to not only guide their lives, but again, if they use it as a gift and be able to bless other people, they can also help others. And then finally, there is the earth empaths. They are attuned to changes within our planet, our solar system, and the weather. So this is someone that can really be able to watch and feel what's going on in the universe and in the environment and be able to interpret that in a way that can help someone and help themselves in it from a spiritual standpoint. So the communication comes through the changes within the universe and within the solar system, within the earth. So now let's talk about the unique gifts of an empath. And there are many, as you can see. Empaths are able to experience exquisite passion and joy. Because a lot of times, empaths that actually self-identify as being empathic, as well as other people, can sometimes look at all of the negative aspects. Yes, there are challenges that come with being an empath, but there are many unique gifts. So I really wanted to highlight and emphasize what those gifts are. So we are very passionate. We are very joyful. Empaths are more in tune and attuned to the beauty and poetry and energy of life around them. They can see things that other people can't see because they look more deeply, and they look not only with the natural eye, but also with the spiritual eye. Empaths have a special relationship with nature, a kinship with flowers, the plants, the animals, the clouds, all of the divine creator's creations. Empaths can dance under the moon and feel alive because there is a direct correlation and connection between us, especially as women, a direct connection between us and the moon. So we draw from that energy because, again, we are able to feel the energy from all of the other creations of the divine more intensely than other people. So it's a blessing. Empaths are deeply compassionate and instinctively know how to help people. So this is something we don't have to be taught. We know how to do it. It comes natural for us. We are the answer to some of the world's most difficult problems. Because again, we were created a certain way with these gifts within us. So it's a matter of learning how and knowing how to tap into those gifts to be able to solve some of these problems. Empaths have the ability to create powerful soul connections, intimacy, and like I said, that sexual energy can be very powerful as well at a much deeper level than, say someone that's a non-empath. Empaths intuitively know how to heal ourselves and others. We have a powerful connection with the divine. So again, having that direct line to the divine creator, and the more we are able to pray and meditate and elevate our spirit and elevate our soul and our energy, our Sikkim, and it just takes us deeper onto that natural path of enlightenment that we were created to be on in the first place. So we are usually on a quest for knowing, a quest for seeing beyond natural sight. So it makes us natural born seekers, leaders, and healers. And those are all of our wonderful gifts, and plus so much more, because the more we develop ourselves, the more we learn about ourselves, the more that we are able to express our gifts. So there are environmental factors, like I said, because we are connected to the universe and to everything in it, and deeply connected. So when we're making a decision about where we're going to socialize, when we're going to travel, take a trip, where we're going to live and work, we have a whole nother layer of factors that we have to look at that could affect us adversely. So again, this is where we have to plan ahead and be proactive in knowing what our triggers are and really learning about ourselves, what works for us and what does not. So we have these sensitivities to noise, the lighting, smells, all of these things could be a challenge for us. And again, like I mentioned earlier, chemicals, pollution, just regular air emissions. This can be detrimental if we're not careful. So we also must factor the amount of people that are going to be in the space and the types of stimuli in general. Color, sounds, movement, clutter, etc. I apologize. I have to pause again because for some reason, I'm not really sure why, everyone is having trouble getting on. So I have another person. Give me a second. So sorry, everybody. Hold on. And plus, I did not want that interruption to still keep happening. As long as people can't get on, they're going to be inboxing me. Okay. Just so y'all know, I'm pausing the video so all of these interruptions are not on there. So when you get the playback, it will be, just going straight through. Okay. Okay. So nature is always therapeutic and healing for empaths. The more time we can spend in nature, the more energized we are. Traveling can be overwhelming. Crowded airports and public transportation can be exhausting. We always have to be aware of sensory overload when we are in public places. So traveling, we should always try to plan ahead. It's so important that we plan ahead. And even as going as far as, simple things like make sure you're checking your bag so you're not kind of stumbling around with all your bags, because all of this can be overwhelming for us. So, and just, moving throughout the airport, if we're taking a train, all of this can be a bit much because remember, we're in constant contact with different types of people, which means different energies that we can absorb. So if anybody, I know there's a number of New Yorkers on here, In New York, it's the MTA. We have the public transportation system, the MTA, and the crowded trains, and that can be very stressful and very draining for an empath. So again, it's planning out things, because some things cannot be avoided. Everything is not unavoidable. So we have to, more that we're able to put a protective shield around ourselves and plan ahead and be proactive, the more we're able to function and not feel overwhelmed or consumed about external stimuli. So now let's take a look at, more specifically, when we talk about environmental factors, the workplace. Because I know I was getting a lot of questions and inboxes about, people having challenges in their workplace because they are empathic, or, they have some kind of sensitivities, or they're a highly sensitive person. So in general, a lot of empaths are really just very creative, inventors, visionaries, artists, very heart-centered people, which is why a lot of us end up in like the helping profession, or with some kind of artist, or something dealing with the healing arts or creativity, and definitely visionaries. So settings cannot be too restrictive. We need freedom and we need flexibility. So that gives you some direction and some information already of the types of settings that would be best. So there's really three factors that you have to consider when you're choosing a work environment. The work has to be meaningful, because again, we do everything from the depth of our soul and our heart and our being. So our work has to be meaningful, just like our relationships, just like everything that we do in life. Two, the energy of the people around us is definitely a factor. So if you are in transition of looking for a new job, or even if you're currently at a job, you really have to start assessing, your work environment. Is this going to be the best place for me if you're looking for a new place? And asking those questions on an interview, just really trying to find out more about the work style, the work culture, the expectation. All of those things are going to be important for you to know as an empath. The energy of the physical space is also something that you have to examine. The energy of the physical space, meaning that, you can come into a space and it may or may not have to do with the people, but it can just be also how the place is structured. Is it an open kind of environment where everyone is near each other? Which that can be a challenge for an empath, because again, you're picking up on the different energies. Because a lot of these workspaces now, they're set up like cubicles, and it's an open setting. You don't necessarily have your own office. If you're working in a hospital, it can be very busy. So it really depends on how everything is laid out. So that's also important. So what are some of the types of jobs and careers that are best for empaths? So thinking about everything I just said, definitely low stress environments, smaller companies and offices, and where there's a limited amount of people, because that minimizes the interactions, which is usually better for an empath. Entrepreneurship, of course, because you have the opportunity really just to deal with yourself. And then, of course, you have to interact with people, doing any kind of business, depending on, what your field of business is. Some has more interactions than other. But working from home, of course, even if you work for a company, maybe you can get something where you're more like a telecommuter and you work from home more. Writers, editors, artists, graphic designers, accountants, freelancers, any type of independent contractors where you're able to really set your schedule, manage your day. You have a lot of flexibility and freedom. Goes back to the top, what I was saying about the freedom and flexibility. And helping professionals, like myself, whether you're a therapist or you're a teacher or you're a nurse, you really being able to tap into that altruism that most of us have, that compassion, that need to be able to help people, is getting satisfied when you go into a field where you are helping people. But also still you need to have that flexibility, because these the helping professions can also come with a lot of stress. They can have very high stress environments. The workplace can have a lot of toxic people in it. So it's a balance. So even though you're fulfilling that need of wanting to help people, there still can be the challenge of dealing with or everything that comes with those environments. So what are the occupations to avoid? Definitely sales. Any type of sales can be very challenging for an empath, just because you have to interact with people so much. Same thing with retail, public relations, politics. An executive that's dealing with a large team. You can be an executive, but maybe it's a smaller agency or a nonprofit or something where you're not dealing with a whole stream of different types of personalities and different energies. Of course, a trial attorney, because there's a lot of pressure with that work, and also you are interfacing with all different types of energies and people, and just a very high pressure job. And in mainstream corporate, I worked in corporate for 10 years. I knew it was not for me as an empath. And at the time I didn't know I was an empath, but I just knew I just never got the fulfillment out of it. Because one, it wasn't, it was very cut and dry. It was typical corporate America, advertising, marketing. So I didn't see the altruism in that. I didn't get anything fulfilling out of it from that standpoint. It really was about the paycheck. And for an empath, it has to be more than about the paycheck. It has to be something that we feel fulfilled and is doing something for us. And then also in corporate America, it just can be very cutthroat. It's all about the bottom line. So people can be very nasty and very mean, and a lot of toxicity there. So mainstream corporate is definitely not the best place for empaths. Does it mean you can't thrive in any of those occupations? With the right tools, resources, and the right protection that you build up around yourself, of course. Because if you're already working in any of these fields, you may just have to learn how to really strengthen yourself so that you can be able to prosper. So let's look at who can be in your circle. Who can be in your circle? So I'm going to start with the unhealthy side, because that's really going to take the most time, because I want you to really understand how vital, how critical it is to not either have these people in your life, and if you have to have them in your life, to set very, very clear boundaries. Because again, these types of personalities and people can be devastating to you as an empath. So of course, first is the narcissist. And I've spoken about the narcissist before. The narcissist is really just someone that is self-absorbed. The world revolves around them. Very inflated sense of importance. Nobody else matters. And the dynamic between a narcissist and an empath can be volatile, meaning that for you as the empath, the narcissist will always be trying to pull from your light, because it is something that they do not have at all. Narcissists have a way of using gaslighting, of using what's called love bombing, all these different techniques in order to get the empath to comply with what they want. Because everything that a narcissist does is all about appealing to their ego and fulfilling whatever their needs are. So they're never going to be invested in the relationship, unfortunately. And that's pretty much most of the energy vampires. That's why they're energy vampire. That's why they drain your energy, because they are not invested in the relationship. There's everything that they do is self-serving, especially a narcissist. When we start to talk about a rageaholic, a narcissist could be a rageaholic as well, and vice versa. This is really someone who deals always in conflict. So everything is an argument, everything is an accusation, attacking, controlling. They use a lot of yelling, which is really something that penetrates an empath. So this is why a rageaholic is not healthy for an empath, because this is usually someone that is constantly arguing with us. And remember, we don't like arguing, we don't like confrontation, we certainly don't like yelling, because that's in the area of loud noises, and it just makes us feel very anxious, and it can also just bring up like physical pain in our body. But rageaholics, this is what they want to do. They want to inflict pain, okay, as well as narcissists. So the victim goes the other direction. The victim is everything is about them. Somebody's attacking them. They're always in a state of someone's doing something to them, or why did this happen to them? So again, the focus is always on that person. So this is not a person that could be supportive and loving to you, because everything is always going to be about them. This is usually the person that you can be having a conversation with them, and they barely ask about you. They barely ask about how you're feeling, even if they call you on the phone. It's usually the conversation is dominated about everything that has happened to them, who's doing something to them, who's attacking them. So it becomes extremely draining and unhealthy. And so this is where it's important also to know, when we're talking about these energy vampires, the difference between venting and dumping. We all want to vent and be able to share what's going on in our life. And if we're having a problem, we go to a friend and we may talk and want to vent a little bit. Venting is healthy, and that's fine, because we do need to get things off our chest and be able to share things with other people, so we're not carrying this stuff around. But then there's dumping, which a lot of the energy vampires do. Venting is really something that's time limited. It's not something that goes on and on. You usually stick with one topic. This is what happened to me today. What do you think? And that's it. You really don't keep repeating the same point. You don't blame people when you're venting, and you don't fall into victim mode when you're venting. You stay open to solutions. Dumping, on the other hand, is very toxic, and you'll feel it. You'll start to feel it all up in your spirit when someone's dumping. They go on and on and on. They don't know how to stop. They overwhelm you with their issues. And remember, we're already easily overwhelmed as empaths. And they keep repeating the same point. It's like it never has an end to the conversation. They're blaming others, playing the victim, and they're really not open to solutions. They really just want to come and dump all their stuff on you. So you're left holding all of that negative energy, and they walk up and they feel lighter. So you have to, especially as empaths, you have to be able to protect yourself and set boundaries from, energy vampires that are usually the ones that are doing this, dumping instead of venting. Because you also have the drama queen or the drama king. This is someone that always has some kind of situation going on. They're running from one dramatic situation to another. There's always a crisis, always a crisis. It's never just, if it's a friend or a family member, let's get together, let's go have dinner or talk or whatever. Oh no, what's happening to me today? And did you know this is what happened to me the other day? And it's always something, right? Every phone call, it's a crisis, it's a red alert. They always need some kind of help. You got to get them out of something. No, this is definitely someone you have to set boundaries or let them go. Then there's the control freak or the critic. This is the person that always has to be in control, always has to tell you what to do. They always know what's best for you, but it comes out in a version of criticism. And criticism constant criticism for an empath is devastating. So this is definitely someone that can be debilitating to us. And then you have the nonstop talkers. This, and I'm sure we've all had one of these in our lives. A coworker. Usually we have coworkers like this. They want to come and they want to take up about 2 hours of your time just talking nonstop. They don't, and nonstop talkers don't even care if you are part of the conversation. That's what's crazy. They will keep talking and they won't even know. And especially if you're on the phone with a nonstop talker, it's amazing. They will keep talking even though you haven't said a word. But they're very, very draining to us. It's almost like a verbal assault because they're constantly going, and it gets trapped inside of our energy when we're constantly listening to that. Because usually it's some kind of complaining, nonstop talkers. Either they're talking about themselves or they're complaining. So either way is not a good thing. Because we're good listeners. That's what we do. We do that very well. So we almost attract these type of people because they know we're going to listen, and they know that we have a big heart and we're compassionate. Then there's the passive aggressive person, right? And this is a person that they express their anger with a smile. They sugarcoat all their hostilities, but underneath there's something that's not right because we can feel it. That's what we do. That's part of our gifts. We can read people. But they come off as if they're nice and they're cordial and they genuinely like us, but it's really a facade. So we always have to be very careful with passive aggressive people because these are also the people that will come off nice all the time, and then next thing you know, they're coming at you with their claws. So passive aggressive people are the ones that we really have to have our first eye, our third eye tuned up and watching, because their hostilities are often masked, and they can come around the corner and do something to us and we won't even know it happened because it was just, again, they came off as if they were cordial or they were friendly, especially if we're talking about co-workers or even, family members. So this is where we have to ask those really stern questions of, what is their purpose? Why are they here? Why are we even in this relationship with them? If it's a co-worker, okay, what is it that you're looking for? What do you need when they come alongside us and they're kind of doing this whole dance as if they want to be friendly or they want to have a genuine relationship, and that's usually not the case because there's some passive aggressive tendencies there. Then the last one is the complainer or the Debbie Downer. And again, this is exactly what it is. They will bring you down. They will drain your energy. Their mode in life is just to complain and really not to add anything of value, but to be a person that really frustrates you and get on your nerves. Because if they're coming to you and they genuinely want help, right? And we have people that genuinely want help and need our help because we're good at that. However, you have some people, they just want to, like I said before, dump. Or they're the person, if you have good things going on in your life and you are talking about your good things, and they're the ones that's always the pessimist. They always want to be, they'll say the devil's advocate, but really, sometimes you got to look at it, is it just the devil? Is it just them being very negative and just trying to really rain on your parade or dim your light or take your shine? So that also is the Debbie Downer and the complainer, because they're not really there to be supportive of you. They're, if anything, trying to just, go against anything positive that you have going on. And unfortunately, dealing with energy vampires, you can develop something called an emotional hangover. It's just like a regular hangover, but you're not drinking alcohol, or you're not, unfortunately, vomiting, in the toilet, anything like that. But energy vampires can make you physically ill, nauseous. They can make you feel like you have a hangover from alcohol. because you feel physically ill, you feel emotionally drained, you feel exhausted when you leave them or you leave the encounter, and that's why they're so unhealthy. So again, it's about those boundaries, or if you can, just to sever the relationships with those types of personalities. Now, looking at the healthy, it's your loving advocates and supporters. These are people that practice affirming positive communication with you. They're your cheerleaders. You know it's genuine. They have a respect for your space and your time. They respect your boundaries. They don't try to overwhelm you or overload you. And let me say this, it's very important that we educate the people that are closest to us, that are in our circle, or that desire to be in our circle, about us being empathic. So they understand how to interact with us, especially our closest loved one, our children, our spouses, our family members, parents, closest friends. They need to know that. Now, at work, that may be a little tricky. You may not want to divulge, things like that at work. However, if there's someone that really wants to have a relationship with you at work, or be a close coworker or whatever, be in your circle, then they have to respect your boundaries. And I just may just tell them a little bit about your personality traits and your needs. This is someone that's non-judgmental. They're open-minded. They're not harshly critical of you. They're not judging you. If they do know that you're an empath, they're not always saying, oh, get over it, toughen up, don't be so sensitive. Because these are all the things that if you're an empath, or even if you didn't know you're an empath, you've probably heard these things. You're too sensitive, you're over emotional. Yeah, that's how we're made. Please respect it. And that's what it boils down to. You have to just be very stern and firm with people about who you are and what you require from them in the relationship. And then you just want people that are genuine and that are authentic. Balance and practicing reciprocity. We all want reciprocity in all of our relationships. That's what's key. Because all of these things tell us that the person isn't truly invested in a relationship. Remember what I said about the narcissist, the victim, the drama queen. They're not invested in a relationship. So you want relationships, a healthy relationship. These are people that are invested in a relationship. And you know that because remember, we feel everything intensely. So we know when someone genuinely has our back, they're being honest with us, they are respecting our boundaries. We know that they genuinely care about us and they want to have a healthy relationship with us. So they're there and they will listen to us. And it won't always be one-sided. We can actually go talk to them and maybe get advice and some support. It's not always the other way around. So these are really the people that you want in your circle. So now we are going to get into how do we really protect ourselves, right? So before we go there, I want to do a quick exercise because I know I've been downloading a lot of information, and so give you an opportunity to really kind of breathe. And this is an exercise that will help when you encounter some of those energy vampires. And it's something that you can really do in the moment. Because sometimes we don't have the luxury of pulling away and, going into a room or closing a door so that we can meditate or pray and be able to regroup. So this is called a composure state exercise. And then I'm going to do a protective one as well, or we're going to do it. So I want you just to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and relax. And I want you to visualize a tranquil lake scene. So like a beautiful lake, and you see the sparkles on the water. You can actually hear the water kind of hitting against the rocks. And maybe you're walking alongside the lake. And it's very tranquil. It's very still. and you're in nature. And just allow yourself to be there in that moment. And I want you to imagine a soft melody playing in the background. And then I want you, with your eyes closed still, I want you to just look upward with your eyes while your eyes are still closed. And you're going to focus your eyes like right in the middle where your third eye is. And just hold that there. And just allow yourself to feel the tranquility of that still lake. And just stay there in that moment. Imagine like a light breeze touching across the back of your neck, the nape area. And you can hear again the soft ripples of the water. And just sit with that image in your mind. Being aware of your breathing. Now, while your eyes are still closed and you're aware of your breath, I want you to imagine and visualize the Archangel Michael. See his large, expanding wings draping over you, covering you. Imagine his massive 7-foot tall body shielding you from anything or anyone that is trying to cause harm towards you. He is there to protect you and be a shield for you. And you can sit in peace knowing that you have that divine protection. So take a deep breath and then exhale, and you can open your eyes. So those are two really quick creative visualizations, meditative states that you can do in the moment when you have an energy vampire right there in your face, or something just happened and something, you're in a toxic environment and you really can't like just go pull away. You can do that visualization over in the corner or something, but it's something you can do even if you have to do it with your eyes open. It's having the tools to be able to be in the moment when these things are happening. So it's sort of recollecting your composure first and then going into the protective visualization as the shield and as the buffer. So they're two really neat tools that I know I've used it, and I've taught clients to use it, especially working with my young people. It works. It's amazing. So let's look at how to protect and empower empaths. When we understand who we are and how we are wired and our source of power, then we know how to sustain, build up, and strengthen our power and gifts. Looking at how do we shield ourselves from spiritual warfare, psychic attacks, energy vampires that I just spoke about, and not be overcome by everyday stress. We must remember that we are the light that comes from a light source, and we live in a self-sustaining world. However, we've been given false ideas or conditioned to eat and take in through our ear and eye gates dead things, dead foods, dead energy, things that are not life-giving, and they're destroying our minds and our bodies. These things are also dimming our light. And again, we were created to be light and to shine our light. So when you eat from the earth, you become one with the earth, the sun, the moon, all of these creations that I spoke about before. And this helps to expand your light. So think about it. As we fast, as we cleanse our temple, as we pray, as we meditate, we eat live foods, we renew ourselves and elevate to another layer in another realm of light. We don't want to bring things into our system that's going to diminish our light or even collapsing our aura. So the eighth chakra, we know about the seven chakras. We have the eighth chakra, which is our aura. And the aura can become damaged or dim from all of the toxic energy in this world, toxic relationships, toxic environments. We got to remember we are electromagnetic, right? We're energy beings. So our aura is actually like an electromagnetic field that surrounds us. So as we do all of these life-giving things, it helps to brighten that aura, strengthen the aura, which is our protective shield. So let's look at foods and the herbs that are life-giving to us and that helps us to sustain our mind, body, soul, and spirit, giving life and vitality to us so that we can do what we're purposed to do on this earth. So herbs that are really good, and we use some of these, I'm sure you use some of these in your cooking and everyday usage, but chamomile tea, as we know, this is a very calming, sort of a sedative type, and it's actually sleep provoking. So, and sleep and rest is so important to us as empath. So chamomile is excellent for us. You have Damiana, which is really great as well. And this calms the nervous system. It relieves anxiety and depression. And it also helps to regulate our blood sugar. Because again, if our blood sugar levels are out of whack, and this is, something I had challenges with in the past, then our whole system will be compromised. Okay, because blood sugar and insulin helps to regulate digestion, our appetite, and it also, if it's out of whack too long, it can contribute to serious condition like diabetes. So Damiana is a great herb to look at. And then we have valerian root, which is sometimes used as an anti-anxiety because it's very powerful. Also have calming properties and is good for the nervous system. Most of these herbs are antimicrobial, have antiseptic, they're cleansing, they're clearing, they're good for the liver. Eucalyptus, sage are good for the upper respiratory system. It's good for allergies. So we have so many herbs, and these are just a few that I listed that are really good for us. They're stabilizing herbs that help us to feel more grounded. We always need to feel grounded as empaths. And then we have our foods. Live, fresh, raw, plant-based are always the best because, again, this is what's going to give us the most vitality. This is going to be the best for our digestive systems. Because remember, empaths, we usually have sensitivities, even our stomach, how we process foods in our body, everything's extra sensitive. So the more authentic and fresh and alkaline the foods are, the better it is for our systems. Then you have root vegetables. Root vegetables, we talk about turnips, we talk about carrots, red cabbage, sweet potatoes, beets. And it's interesting, when I was pulling all this together, and I never even thought about this, root vegetables, most of the really good ones, they correlate with the color of the root chakra, which is a deep red. And I was like, wow, I never even noticed that, from beets. Or they correlate with even just the lower chakra areas, like your sacral chakra, which is like an orange color, and that's your sweet potatoes, your carrots. You got rhubarb, you got onion. So these are very high alkaline vegetables, and they are edifying to the body. Go in the bloodstream quickly, digest easily. Green leafy veggies, you have all of your vitamins, your A, your K, your C, minerals in the green leafy veggies, good protein. Salmon, I do have a meat there, fish, salmon, because salmon is full of omega-3s and good fatty fish oil is really good for us. Again, stabilizing. Avocado, superfoods, and then whole grains like quinoa and bulgur. So it's important that we understand that anything from nature, the foods from nature, the organic, fresh foods is what's best for us. And when we look at it from the standpoint of our connection to everything in the earth, that's from the earth, and then we have a better understanding of why that works for us, especially as empaths, because we have such an intense connection with everything. When we look at the supplements, you got vitamin D, C, B12, the B complex, again, is great for metabolism and the nervous system. It's also good for our mood, emotions, hormone balances. Calcium, of course, good for our bones and our joints. Zinc, it helps to boost our immune system. Magnesium is really powerful, wonderful. I take magnesium every day, and they also have a powder called Calm. It's a powder, you can make it as a drink. I think the company is called Vitality that makes it. And you can, take it every single day. Again, it's immune system support. It's also good for anxiety because it's calming. And it's just one of those supplements that you want to take every single day. Omega-369, I spoke about that. And valerian root, again, is good for anxiety as well. Cell power is really about alkalinizing your water. You can just put a few drops of it in, and it is good for free radicals in your body. It puts oxygen, helps to build up oxygen in your body, and good circulation. So these are all really powerful supplements that are helpful to us as empaths. So what are some of the other tools and resources that are helpful for us as well? So when we look at grounding, we always want to use different grounding mechanisms. So there are actual grounding asanas or yoga poses with breathing techniques that are helpful, and positive statements, whether it's affirmations, scriptures, whatever your preference is, devotion. The grounding asanas that really work well are the child pose, and that's really laying, your body folded just like a child and having your forehead to the ground. That is a powerful pose for us. The Maladara, which is the warrior squat pose, and I believe I did post that in the group. So it's in that squatting position with your hands in the prayer mudra, in a prayer position. And then there's also the inversion. Inversion is really when you put your behind up against the wall and have your legs inverted. Just as it says, inversions. Straight up, and you just lay there with your legs straight up, and you can do that 10 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, whatever works for you. But these are really therapeutic and grounding, especially if we've had a particularly stressful day, dealt with some toxicity, dealt with some energy vampires. Doing any of these asanas is powerful. There's also the sun salutation rotation, and that's really the different yoga moves or asanas that you could do first thing in the morning, and it includes some of the poses that I just mentioned, and that is also very grounding. It includes the regular warrior standing pose, and it also, I believe, it includes the child pose in there as well. So those grounding asanas are important, and then your breathing techniques, just like we did the mini meditative creative visualization, where you're doing some deep cleansing breaths. You can do alternate nose breathing as well. And there's a variety of other breathing techniques, but those are the two main ones, especially if you're in a situation where you're feeling very anxious or overwhelmed. You definitely want to take at least 3 to 5 deep cleansing breaths where you're inhaling through your nose and exhaling out your mouth. So essential oils are helpful, of course, in all of their different healing properties that they have. So most of these are, again, have like an antiseptic, anxiety reducing properties, from sandalwood to patchouli, clary sage, frankincense. All of these different essential oils you can use either topically on your skin. You can put it in a diffuser and use it as aromatherapy. You can buy the incense. So the more you are able to use it in your environment, use it on your personal body, the more that you will see, your nerves calm down, you be more at peace, you be more centered, and you can mix different oils. Look up all of their different properties and their healing properties specifically, and you can mix ones. Like frankincense and myrrh is always like a healing combination. So this is a good healing scent and aromatherapy that you can have just within your home, and you can put on your wrists and wear that throughout the day. Of course, you have also lavender, which is good, and you can just use those scents as well to be able to calm down and to feel more centered. Then you have your crystals and your gemstones for protection and grounding. So any of the dark stones are particularly good. And I realize there's one that's not here, which is hematite, black tourmaline, selenite, tiger's eye. Those are all grounding and protective stones. So you can wear them as jewelry. You can just have them on your personal body. I think I have right now, and when you do the meditation, you'll see I have on labradorite, which is good for higher consciousness and for increasing your psychic abilities. It's also good for just really having clear mind and clarity of mind. You have amethyst, which is a strong healing stone that is usually tied into your crown chakra, but also can be used for your third eye chakra. So each of the stones are usually associated with one of the chakras and is used in when you're doing Reiki or even just doing some self-healing. And you know there's a particular area or you know one of your chakras out of alignment, this is also where you can use the different stones to feel grounded and to feel more centered. Because that's really what, as empaths, because we are so sensitive, we need to always have something that's going to kind of bring us back down to earth. Because especially when we have to go out in the world and we have to deal with so many different stimuli and personalities and challenges, we want to be able to come home and really decompress. So the essential oils, the crystals, the more you can set up your environment to feel more centered and to feel protected, you know, these are the different tools to help you to do that. Rose quartz is that heart stone, you know, it's good for self-love and just, you know, illuminating love throughout your body and feeling even love for other people and increasing your compassion and strengthening, you know, if you want to strengthen not only relations with others, but relationship with yourself. Sodalite is that stone that's wonderful also for the throat chakra, but it's also for intuition. So if, again, you're having trouble expressing yourself, say in a relationship situation, sodalite is a really good stone for that. And then color therapy. Color therapy is looking at the clothing, you know, based on your chakras, based on how you're feeling. You really want to stay in colors as much as possible that are soft fabric, because again, we may have some texture issues, things that irritate our skin. So something that's a soft fabric like a cotton, and that's a bright color, okay? Because what happens with dark colored clothing is that it can absorb negative energy. So as much as you can, you know, I'm talking about like pastels or, you know, not neon bright clothing unless you like that, but you want to stay in that realm. And also looking at clothing based on, you know, how you're feeling. So like, you know, wearing, for example, I have on a blue top and I have on blues right now because blue, again, is associated with the throat chakra and communication. So I have on my blue because I know that's where I want the support. So when you know there's an area that you want to feel stronger in, think about your chakras and whatever color correlates with that particular chakra, you can wear that color. And sometimes it just happens, and again, the more attuned you get spiritually, it'll just happen naturally, where you may have something totally different in mind, a certain color outfit you was going to wear, but you just had to put on that green shirt because maybe you needed to have something going on with your heart chakra. Maybe there's something with your relationship with yourself. You needed to practice some more self-love that day, so you was drawn to that green shirt. So that's just an example how color therapy can work, which I love. I love using color therapy because it's really powerful, especially for us that are highly sensitive. Again, the gemstone jewelry that are colorful and wearing those different colors, you know, and also the protective properties that come with it, like wearing beads that may have tiger eye stones in it. or it may have a black tourmaline stone in it. Black tourmaline and selenite are extremely powerful protective stones. So if you have, you know, your office space and it is some privacy to it, you could put some black tourmaline or obsidian around, or have a selenite wand sitting there, and to really kind of shield yourself within that space. So those are some really powerful protective stones that you would want to use. And then your smudging is always important. The sage and the Palo Santo sticks for smudging you as you walk out the door, before you go out the door, as well as when you come home, to really remove that negative energy off of you. So sage, I have one that has juniper and sage, as well as sweetgrass, which is really fabulous, and I love it. And then those Palo Santo sticks, which we know those are the wonderful, good, holy sticks that are great for smudging. And these are just a couple of resources. When you watch the replay, you know, you can write them down. You have like the YouTube, Aura Clearing Tones. YouTube is great. You can find all types of wonderful, you know, like chakra balance and meditations, music, yoga, everything on there. Insight Timer is great as well for guided meditation. That's an app. The Empath Support Newsletter and Community, Dr. Judith Orloff, you know, I went to her conference, or this is where I learned years ago about being empathic. She's an amazing psychiatrist, and the assessment, she's the one who came up with the assessment. So that's a good resource. White Noise app, which I'm going to use that in a few moments for our meditation. And then SoundsTrue.com is an amazing resource. A lot of great workshops, podcasts, music, meditations, everything you can think of. I love it. I get a lot of great tools from there. But these, again, all types of resources that really support us as empaths. And then, of course, our group, Holistic Living for Purpose-Driven Leaders. You know, so next year, you know, I'm going to be doing quite a bit of really great workshops and webinars and information, not just for empaths, but even for those that suffer from depression and anxiety, and, you know, a lot of support for those of us that, you know, are empathic. Okay, so really quickly, because I've talked about a lot of this, these are the daily practices that you really want to have and incorporate into your daily regimen. We talked about the grounding asanas, prayer and meditation, chakra balancing affirmations, using I am statements, and really that self-love devotions. It's so important to use self-love devotions because, again, we are constantly bombarded with messages when we step out that door. And sometimes those messages are not supportive. Sometimes the people in our life are not supportive. So we constantly have to really lift ourselves up and show that self-love for ourselves and armor ourselves. This is how we start building that protective shield around us, by expressing with our words the love that we have for ourselves, the devotion that we have for ourselves. And we spoke about the whole foods, the high alkaline foods, and making sure you're drinking water. Also with the water, looking at drinking crystal water as well. And I meant to mention that last slide. So crystal water, you have to check which crystals and gemstones are tolerant for water, because all of them aren't. Like selenite, you can't put no water on selenite. So you always have to check, do your research on that. But, you know, just start with a crystal quartz, which can go in water, and just drop a crystal quartz in your alkaline water and drink it. I mean, this is where you're getting all of those healing properties, because crystal quartz is a master healing stone, into your body, so you can drink it as an elixir. So I just wanted to make sure I added that. And be aware of your triggers. Breathe and release when you are in a space where you're having a trigger. Use those two little techniques that we went over earlier, dealing with energy vampires. Use mantras, use positive statements. Taking salt baths. If you have hypertension, high blood pressures, only use oils and herbs. Don't use salt, okay? Then you can also use a shower meditation where you can hang some eucalyptus in the shower, and it's very cleansing. It's very therapeutic because, again, eucalyptus has antiseptic properties and antimicrobial properties, and is extremely helpful for clearing up your sinus areas. So you can also use a little bit of lavender. Okay, you can just kind of even just dab it on your skin while you're in the shower, and just breathe in. It's very calming. It's very relaxing, especially after you had a rough day. But the salt baths are great. There's Dr. T's that makes a couple of different nice salt baths. Salts, I mean, you have the pink Himalayan salt one, you have a lavender one, and you have I believe, a eucalyptus one. So you can look for Dr. T's. And I think they have them like at, most of your regular drugstores like Walgreens or Walmart, anything like that. Plan out your day the night before. The more proactive you can be, then you can build in alone time to regroup. You can build into your schedule the time to charge, the time to go off and do a quick meditation or visualization. So the more you can plan out your day, the less rushed or pressured you will feel, because that's, again, not healthy for us as empaths. Get plenty of sleep and rest, 7 to 8 hours where you can, if you can, and when possible, take power naps. I'm not a power nap person. Everybody's different, but they're recommended. Some people that I know are empathic said it works for them. I tend to feel more groggy if I take a nap, so I don't. But everybody's different. Unplug from online and technology for a few hours. Very important to do that every single day. Some of us, have to use it for business, so that's understandable. But try to unplug when you can. That also means your cell phone. Using the crystals and gemstones, and I spoke about this in your space, on your body, in your water, bath. You can also put the stones in your bath. I know I've put in my bath lapis lazuli before. Some of the more grounding stones like red jasper I've put in my bath. I mean, depending on what you need, you can put some in there. Rose quartz. Another thing about the gemstones, you can also create a grid, what's called a crystal grid, especially if you are in a workspace and, like I said, and you feel like you need to block out some negativity, and that's where you can kind of position your stones around your area, on your desk, wherever you need to kind of put a grid around yourself. You can also put a grid around your body or in your home if you want to point sort of, if there's an area in your house that you feel it needs some clearing and cleansing, you can have your crystals and gemstones positioned a certain way. And they call it like a grid. You can put a grid around your doorway if it's set up that way, where you have your stones kind of lining the top of your doorway, if you have like a little space where you can sit them there. But grids are great, and you can buy stones that are called points. So they look like little points or small mini wands, and that way you can kind of position them to point in the direction of your body if you have them around you or in your space. So that's just another tip with crystals and gemstones. And then practice mindfulness in all your activities, everything you do, from eating, movement, exercise, everything. So mindfulness eating looks like not doing anything else, not watching TV, not scrolling through your phone, but enjoying your food. Movement, exercise, when you're at the gym, just focus on, I'm doing something great for my body, or if you're doing yoga or Zumba, just being present in every single thing that you do. So now we are going to move into our meditation. We have about 20 more minutes. Let me know how you guys are doing. If you want to take 2 minutes to kind of stretch, because I know I kind of had to do it a real crash course here and go through real quickly. Just let me know, put in the chat how you're feeling. You want to take 5 minutes or you want to keep going? Okay. Is everybody else okay? Just type yes, 5 minutes or keep going. All right, so everybody get into a comfortable position. If you're seated in a chair, don't have anything in your hands. I want you to be completely relaxed. And just bring your awareness to your normal breathing. Okay. So I'm going to do 2 to 5 minute meditations. And these are a few meditations that really help you regroup, get centered, and feel grounded and protected. You can use these daily, or you can use them in the moment of distress or emotional unrest for maybe a toxic encounter. So we're going to start with the release and refill meditation. I'm going to use my little sound meditation bowl in between each of the meditations so you know that we're starting and beginning. So just make sure that your eyes are closed. Everything is relaxed. I want you to take an inhale through your nose, deep, long breath, and then exhale. And upon the exhale, you're going to set the intention. I am releasing and letting go all that no longer serves me. Anything that is dead weight, that is draining or debilitating, either unconsciously or consciously. I'm releasing it for my highest good. I am allowing all of those burdens to drain away, going into the earth to be recycled back as something good and fruitful. something cleansed, purified by the natural elements. Once released and clear, will let the earth's energy spiral up from the earth and fill you. Allow cosmic energy to spiral from the sky through your crown and fill you. As you fill up yourself with this nature's cosmic energy, say, I love me, I love you. Set the intention that you are filling that cleared space within with the new, rejuvenated you. Bubble of light meditation. Continue to have your eyes closed. Inhale slowly in your nose and then exhale slowly out your mouth. And do that 2 more times. Before you venture out into the world each day and have to deal with all the external stimuli in the world, visualize that you surround yourself in a bubble of light. That bubble of light is a vibrant, bold, green light. The light, the green light of your heart chakra. Add some glitter, because glitter is reflective. Glitter is symbolic of celebration. Imagine all negativity bouncing off that glitter and off that bold green light. The brilliance of the glitter consumes the negativity until it disappears. Sit inside the bubble for a moment and draw from its bold brilliance that repels all negativity and darkness. Shielding visualization. This is a quick protective technique to block out toxic energy and allow positive energy to flow. Find a quiet and protected space with no interruptions. Connect to the life force with a few deep cleansing breaths. So again, that's inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And just do that about 3 times. With each deep breath, let your thoughts drift like clouds in the sky. Keep returning to your breath repeatedly to find your center. Allow the breath to surge through your body as energy running from your toes up through your extremities, your spine, your neck to the crown of your head. Return to your breath. Be aware of your breathing, the rhythm of your breathing. Visualize a beautiful, brilliant shield of white and purple light that surrounds your body completely, extending out about an inch from your body. This shield protects you from anything negative, stressful, toxic, or unwelcome. Within the protection of the shield, feel yourself centered, happy, and energized. The shield blocks out negativity and darkness while insulating you with all that's positive and loving. You can use this as in the moment you feel you're absorbing someone's energy, and then inwardly you say thank you for this protection. And to close out, just take a long, deep breath in and exhale slowly. And releasing all of the negativity. The last meditation and creative visualization is the grounding visualization. This is when you need to decompress and recharge and return to your center. You unplug, maintain your eyes closed, make sure you're in a comfortable position. Take those deep cleansing breaths and allow your thoughts to drift. Let there be no attachment to anything, just be. Focus on your breath. Feel the stress leave your body as you connect to a sense of serenity. Go within. And in this tranquil place, visualize a large tree with a strong trunk extending down to the center of your body. You are the tree. You are one with the tree. It's extending from your body from head to toe. Take a few moments to feel its power and its vibrant energy. Then visualize the tree's roots growing from the bottom of your feet, rooting you down to the ground. And as you visualize this, press your feet down into the floor, rooting yourself, making their way deeper and deeper to create a wonderful feeling of solidity. Let the roots anchor you into Mother Earth, stabilizing and centering you. Know in your heart and soul that this inner tree, you are one, and it will provide an inner strength to keep you safe and protected when life gets overwhelming. So we will close out the meditation with an affirmation. Place your hand, your right hand, over your heart and repeat after me. Just take a deep breath in and then exhale. I am a warrior empath. I am fierce and strong, grounded in truth and light. I will not be moved or forced to do anything that does not feed my soul or align with my goals. I honor my intuition. I walk by faith and not by sight. I will not second guess my inner voice, which is my GPS. I seek balance in all things and will not overextend myself. I am divinely guided, so my feet are planted firmly. I am protected. I am loved. I will treasure myself and vow to have people in my life treasure me as well. I set clear boundaries and respect myself to not allow anyone to overstep those boundaries. I will use my sensitivities and innate gifts to better my life and be a blessing to the world. I will celebrate my superpowers and the adventure of being an empathic soul. I have inner peace. I am majestically made by the divine creator. I am a warrior empath. So that concludes the webinar training. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat at this time. Any questions, ladies? Okay, so I know this was a lot of information because you are all in the group. I will send out a checklist that will have some of the information included as well. So, but you also have the replay, so you can watch it again on your own time, so you can take notes and really get all of the information down, because I know I had to kind of go through them pretty quickly. The meditations, there was one more. No, we covered all of them. So you have the meditations, everything. You can do them at your own pace. on when you watch the replay. But if you have any questions that come up, or if there's a particular supplement or anything that I listed that you wanted some more information about, just inbox me, on Facebook, or you can email me, whatever's best for you. Okay? So I thank you all for joining, and I hope this was helpful for you. And everyone have a blessed evening.